on to you. Breakfast is Tech Talk, Tech Talk, Tech Talk, Tech Talk, Tech Talk, Tech Talk, Tech Talk with Matthew Dixon.
You got a lawnmower that works for itself, have you? Have you got a lawnmower that goes around the yard on its own?
I have. I haven't mowed my lawn for 10 years,
You're
Richard.
joking.
I've had 2 different robotic lawnmowers over the last 10 years.
They don't do a good job.
They do a fantastic job because especially when you've got drought conditions as we've had over the last 3 years, rather than mow that beautiful moisture, put it in a catcher and then go and put
I don't like that.
in a bin.
Mulches
it mulches it, yeah. So some people think, well, what's it do? How does it do the catching? But it actually mows. This is a really interesting thing that I found out when I got my first robotic lawnmower. I used to, as most people, mow their lawn once a week, maybe once a fortnight, because it was convenient on a weekend. And when I spoke to the manufacturer of that particular lawnmower, they said, no. The only reason we mow our lawn once a week is convenience, not what's best for the lawn. So set this up to mow your lawn twice a week, sometimes 3 times a week in the height of summer. So your lawn is always looking magnificent, but it's also just mulching those little tiny bits rather than trying to do a big catch-up.
What's this perfection of lawns? Who gives a stuff whether it grows up a bit?
Well, and that's fine normally.
How high does it cut it?
Whatever height you want, same as a normal
you're
lawn.
only supposed to take the top third off the lawn, don't you?
Well, and that's exactly, it's a different approach to this. So rather than going and waiting until it grows to a certain length, it looks ugly, I'll go and mow it, got nothing to do this
ugly,
weekend.
it's a lawn.
Well, sometimes they get a bit out of hand.
I tell you what, Matty Dickinson, I envy those who've got their bums in the air and their fingers in the dirt pulling out the smallest of weeds with a microscope. I say, you're bloody marvellous, you're incredible.
Well, and I think there's probably some argument for continually mowing the lawn. The idea is that the lawn stays healthy and strong and it probably gets rid of some of those weeds itself. It doesn't give them a chance to grow.
What happens if you haven't got a lawn like yours, which is flat as a table?
Obviously, if you had a robotic lawnmower and you wanted to start, you'd want to mow it to a certain length before you get started because it's obviously only able to handle reasonable length of lawns. It's not going to handle a jungle as such.
No.
But once you've got it to that point, then it just continues on. And as I say, I normally do it about twice a week. It just undocks itself from its electronic dock, mows it. If the battery goes a bit flat, it docks, recharges, does it. You don't think about it. And sometimes you get a bit surprised. You walk out the front and here's this little device out running around. What's going on there? So it's the lawnmower going.
How long does it last?
The actual battery?
Yeah.
It'll go for a couple of hours before it docks again. And normally to do the whole lawn, because it's a randomised process, it's not as quick as you pushing a lawnmower across the lawn, so it goes slower than that for safety reasons. So it'll go for probably to do my lawn, it probably takes about 5 or 6 hours.
5 or 6 hours?
Yeah.
In a lawn that you could do with a push mower in half an hour?
Yeah, probably if I did.
So what are you saving?
Well, I don't have to go out and do it. It just does it automatically.
You just sit on your ass and do nothing and you play with your house all day?
I just play with my electronics, yes.
Matthew.
Every half an hour I'd have to mow the lawn is something I can play with electronics.
What's the blade like?
It's just basically got a little tiny blade. It's probably only, this is the second model I've had, but the current model.
Like a shaver, is it?
It's probably about, I'm just trying to think, they're probably 4 centimetres long. Yeah, so the little blade,
Really?
and multiple
40
blades.
millimetres.
Yeah, that's right. And it just spins on the end of a disc, obviously.
How sharp is this blade?
Yeah, pretty sharp. Yeah, don't go and stick your fingers under it.
Could you do it at night?
Yeah, it does. It's
it
quite
quiet?
enough. That's right. Yeah, we have ours set to go basically early in the morning, so you don't
I
even know
think
about
I think you're telling me a fib.
It's quite mesmerising, actually. You should come around to my place one day, Richard, and you sit there, and you sit out on our deck, and you have a beer in your hand, and you watch it, and you go, wow, look at that. And you sit there for 10 minutes sometimes.
How does it navigate garden patches and plots of whatnot?
Yeah, so there's one thing I had to do to get started, which was run...
Rip out all the rose bushes.
That's right. Get the dogs out of the yard.
Yeah.
Now, run a wire
what about
around...
dog poo? What happens if it runs over dog poo?
Yeah, it munches up dog poo as well. But you run around the outside of the yard with a wire. You just basically put a wire in the ground as the outside. So it's not buried or anything. You just sit it on the surface of the ground and grass soon grows over it. Everything inside that boundary line then, it will bump against and then turn around and keep going. So if there's a tree, a bit of garden furniture or a dog, for example, it'll bump into it, very sensitive sensors on it. As soon as that sensor is knocked or touched, it stops and goes to a random angle and then goes again.
Yeah. You've got too much time on your hands.
Well, I've got more time on my hands now because I don't have to mow my lawn. Yeah.
Everything's like that. What about the future of these kind of mowers? Could we see ride-ons with this sort of thing?
Well, you won't need to do a ride-on, but there certainly are applications for larger. So one of the things that you find if someone...
You get ride-ons within 4 feet blades on the thing.
Yeah, that's right. You get some pretty serious ride-on mowers. But if you've got... So the one I've got is designed for no more than about 2,000 square metres, which obviously covers most people's yard, the block they've got and the amount of grass they've got. But there are commercial versions of these that you wouldn't just leave docked there all day, but you would come and sit on a field, a sporting field, that sort of size, and let it go and come back 2 hours later and the field's all done for you. You'll pay more up front for it, but the amount of time you save in labour time is worth it.
All right, bottom line, how much?
Well, there's a new one just announced by Victor actually, which I think will be a big hit, $1,300. The one I've got's a Husqvarna one, and it's probably about $1,800.
I've seen the ad on TV for the Husqvarna. They've got all shapes and models.
Yeah, they've got a few different models.
With lights on the front.
The original one,
Why does a mower need a light?
just to make sure you're aware of it when it's out mowing, I suppose.
Right, okay.
The original one I bought 10 years ago was a Robomower one made out of Israel. It was the first one in the world, and yeah, it was a little bit dearer.
Yeah, okay. Matthew Dickerson doesn't have anything to do at all. Just does his mowing and turns his automatic house on and off. You're not well, are you? Thank you. Okay.